I'm not subscribed to you on this channel. Well, now I am. Yay, I see it.
You're seeing it already? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Great.
Copy. There we go. Let me mute this so that I'm not hearing doubles. No. Sam talk with Eunmi Ko. Yay. Oops. Is there a polar bear emoji? Let's see. There is. That's definitely going to be the emoji I use for this. God, these emojis are so small on my screen. There's not. Oh well. Oh, there's already one. Two people watching now. Excellent.
Wow.
One of them is me, and the other is Benjamin Whiting. Let's see. Let me see if I can go to the actual thing.
Great.
Cool.
Cool. How's how are classes
Good.
and everything?
Good. So, I mean, the pandemic has definitely impacted that for me. There were one or two. No, there was one. I was supposed to do an independent study with the wonderful Dr. Benjamin Whiting, and unfortunately, that COVID put a stop to that. So that was great. I say sarcastically, but I'm enjoying comp. Comp is fun. I'm composing a lot of music this semester, so I'm glad that I have a little bit more time to do all that, and I have more time to kind of dedicate towards the New Music Consortium, which is great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Happy to.
So what are new pieces you're working on?
Besides Ursus Martimus, I just finished a flute trio for the flute studio, where Dr. Arnone approached a few composers within the composition studio, and she asked us to write pieces for some of their smaller ensembles because they're working in smaller groups this semester because COVID, the word of the day is COVID. And I got assigned to actually write for their telematic trio. One of the performers is in China. One of them is in, I believe, Fort Myers, Florida, or Naples. Don't exactly remember, to be honest. And the other one is here in Tampa. So I got assigned to work with that trio, and that working with them has been really fun. They're really awesome players and just great people to work with. On top of that, I also just finished a quartet for the Hypercube ensemble. So the instrumentation for that is tenor sax, acoustic guitar, percussion, and piano.
Super cool.
Yes. And I'm also still working on a piece for Tampa Homegrown, actually. So that's going to be exciting.
It is very exciting.
Yes. All wonderful performers and wonderful people.
Yeah.
Including you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's see.
Check in the comments. Hello, Krista. Hello, Joshua.
Okay.
Howdy.
See that.
I spelled howdy correct. Awesome.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Yeah, your background. I mean, it looks really cool.
Oh, my Zoom background. Thank you. It's the bedroom for Drake and Josh. It was like this show in like the early 2000s on like Nickelodeon, and it was about these. For anyone who doesn't know, it's about these two like stepbrothers who live together. They're like teenagers, and it's just about like their funny like adventures, their everyday life. One of them is like super nerdy, and the other one is like, into like rock music and is a guitarist and stuff, and is like a rebel and stuff. So it's a really funny show. I recommend it.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
very.
Yes. How's your semester been so far?
Well, it's been better than I thought before
Yeah.
semester started. So there are still a lot of difficulties teaching classes in person in Barnes. Because I also have to Zoom some people in, some students in, who's taking it online,
Oh
taking
wow.
classes online. So I have three people, three people, and then rest of it in person.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you ever been to Barnes since the semester started.
I have not been to campus since COVID. So
It's very loud because there are two air purifiers and
ooh.
are allowed to turn that off. So it has to be on. These two of them there have to be on all the time, and
Oh
they're very,
wow.
so I feel like I'm just kind of yelling at my students during the class,
Oh no.
but they said still, it's hard to hear sometimes, especially with online students, because they're hearing um, me through the computer mic. And so yeah, there are more stuff because I feel like I have to make up what we're losing because I can't do everything in person. um, so yeah, my students are, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
more stuff to practice.
Oh my gosh. That's so wild because I've been hearing stories from students who are still in studio either because, they're performance majors or they're, freshmen or sophomore freshmen or sophomores. And they're talking about how they're having private lessons with their student. You can't do this because piano, but a lot of students are having their private studio lessons like in parking garages and are just saying one, it's extremely hot, so they're just super duper sweaty in there, and also it's so loud because all these cars just come driving by, people honking because they get mad about parking situations, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I can't imagine having to be in a situation where I'm in like an ensemble or like a studio, like an instrumental studio at this time, but people are adapting, and I really am like surprised and applauding those who are adapting as much as they are. It's just
Yeah,
so unbelievable.
yeah, it is. Well, it's, I think, about time. Let's say there are 9 people, and I think we can start. And
Awesome. Hello to the folks who have joined.
yeah, yeah, hello. And well, thank you for talking to me and talking to the audience here. And also, it was really fun to have you on board and have this project. I really enjoyed the whole process of working with you. And yeah, so yeah, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. Um,
Sure. And absolutely likewise, I'm happy to be here to, talk with you, talk with whoever is in the live YouTube chat, and also to work with you and write this piece for you. It was it's a very blessed opportunity that I've had, and I'm very, very thankful for it. And I don't think I can ever put into words how thankful I am for this opportunity. So thank you.
yeah, sure. Um, well, we were just talking about this, how COVID influences our daily life and academic life. Um, and this project was actually born because of that. Um, so, I mean, we can probably talk about that a little bit because it's related, and I wouldn't say the piece is just about that, and just this kind of situation specific. I don't want to limit the piece that way, and I think it's timely, but it was born in that situation. So I think we can start from there a little bit. So I mean, personally, it was very frustrating summer for me, like everybody else, and it was very upsetting in many different level. Um, and uh, well, I thought, to me at least, this kind of kept me going and kept me in kept me sane in a way. So how was your summer, and how was your you know
Much like yours, it was pretty upsetting of a summer. I'm gonna be honest, it was one of the worst summers of my adult life. I don't mean to go down a road of very sad things, but a lot of bad things happened. In late spring, because of COVID, well, first there's COVID. Let's just pretend. Well, we can't pretend COVID's not a thing. But aside from COVID and not being able to, see my friends and my family, who I consider my support network in person, um, I lost my job thanks to COVID. So that was very unfortunate. And I was furloughed, but I couldn't really stick around and wait to open. So that happened. Um, our family dog passed away, which was very upsetting for me. And he was 14 years old. He was a Shih Tzu named Tommy. He passed away in his sleep, but it was very upsetting because I have an immunocompromised relative. And because of that, it was not safe for me to go down and see my family and mourn. So it took me, compared to like my other family members who I don't want to say got over it, but who were able to go through the mourning process much faster, I'm still going through it, even though he passed back in April. So it was very, very tough. So as a result of that and a few other just smaller things just kind of building up, it was extremely hard for me to have any motivation to do much of anything, especially creative outlets. So not just composing, but whether it be like, like for example, I play The Sims a lot and I love making like houses in The Sims, like really complicated and intricate like mansions and cabins and things like that. I just couldn't bring motivation to do that. I couldn't bring motivation to do any like writing or poetry or anything like that I usually do. And composing just went with it. I just could not. It was very, very difficult for me to try and, just do as I normally would and just feel motivated to do anything creative. And it was really upsetting and frustrating for me. And mentally, I could just kind of feel myself going numb as a result of it. And it was not fun. So my summer was not good.
Yeah, I just cannot imagine anyone who could say that, oh, I had amazing summer. I can't imagine that really. And also, um, like everybody, that I think, everybody anxious about this pandemic. And a lot of people actually lost a job. Some people, a lot of people actually lost family, and just watching all that happening was just really disturbing, and also, ways, surreal. I mean, I sometimes felt like, is this really happening? And I can't even go out, and I can't even meet friends and talk about this. I'm just what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing always through computer, and I'm seeing people through computer screen, and almost everything that I do just seem unreal in that way, in that strange way, because you cannot have that ordinary life. So yeah, it was like everybody else. It was very tough summer, and as you said, it's um, was not motivated at all. I wasn't motivated at all to do anything. Um, First of all, that you go through a lot of cancellations, cancellation after cancellation, um, and we had to cancel the New Music Festival, and then I had to
That was
cancel
very sad.
another festival that I was thinking of doing, and all the concerts, of course, canceled, um, and all of a sudden you feel like you just don't want to do anything. You can't do anything. You're too nervous to do anything. And I think that was another thing, that there's this um, anxiety, and you can't really concentrate when this anxiety really is around you all the time.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, it was just very upsetting, like I said, on top of like not just me, obviously everyone was dealing with this, where it was like things like, festivals, concerts, general public events, weddings, things like that, things that you were planning, plans to see family, plans to do whatever it might be. These things are just going, it's just like what's the word? A snowball. It's like a snowball effect where it's getting bigger and it's just thing after thing is getting canceled. And these things that you do to make yourself a little bit happier and feel a little more socially stimulated because you're with other people it's just building up because all these things are getting canceled, and it's just so overwhelming. I mean, I've been seeing videos and stories of people who, they were expecting a child before COVID, and then not the baby to come during COVID, but they were already pregnant. And by the time COVID happened, it was like, the father or the other parent can't be there for when the child is being born or adopted or whatever it is. And it's just so heartbreaking to have to see these situations where families are being torn apart either through these situations or through death. I mean, that's a very serious thing. I'm very thankful that none of my family members, um, none of my immediate family members have gotten COVID, but I'm very fortunate that those more distant relatives who have gotten COVID have survived. So I'm thankful I haven't lost anybody, but I just keep seeing stories of either old school friends losing their parents or about to lose their parents. And it just makes me so, so, so upset because I know that these people are, they were good people. They took care of, these people who were my friends, who were my colleagues. And it's just so upsetting to see everyone go through just a very, very rough time together.
It's true. I mean, I think this is really traumatic experience for everybody. And sometimes when I think about how many people have died, it's just I mean, I think I become speechless. It's just worse than a war. Um, so yeah. Anyway, well, I didn't know you write poetry. I don't think I knew
I
about that.
started writing poetry. I write more fiction, kind of in the sense where just like very short stories, mostly fiction or fantasy or things like that, where I'll just kind of create like these fantastical, like these fantasy worlds and these situations with like these smaller situations within these bigger worlds. That's just another thing I like to do besides composing because I've always enjoyed writing ever since I was in elementary school. So like fourth or fifth grade, I just always enjoyed writing. So it's just a hobby of mine and I do enjoy doing it. I don't ever intend on, I don't think I will publish something seriously. I don't know, maybe that'll change. But yeah, I do enjoy writing sometimes.
Yeah, that's great. Do you ever share your writing with friends? I mean, even if you don't publish it.
Very seldomly. I've only just kind of started getting comfortable with sharing some of these stories, these more developed stories, with a couple close friends. I think only 3 people have seen my most expansive story, and right now it's a Google Doc that's over like 300 or 400 pages long. So yeah, it's, I don't know why. It's just this one barrier of having to share that, of sharing my writing with people. I got to get over, but I'm more comfortable sharing my music definitely, which is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, do you find any parallel between music and making music and making writing poetry?
In a sense, yes and no, because I find that whatever I'm going through at the moment, like whether it's an emotional thing or a personal thing, or maybe just a general thing I'm learning about at the time, I may apply it into that art. Or it's very interesting because there are times where I may not be motivated to compose music, but I'll be motivated to write. And I'll go and I'll write, I may write a few hundred words of a story. And then after that, it's like, oh, now I'm motivated to compose. I don't want to do writing anymore. I'm bored of writing. I want to compose. And then it's like, I'm bored of composing. I want to go writing. So it's kind of like this little cycle. And right now it's just kind of on, I'm still not over my writer's block in terms of writing fiction, to be completely honest. But in terms of composing, it's just kind of skyrocketed. So I'm doing a lot more composing. Um, but it's good. It's very good. And I'm very happy about that, even though it means less writing.
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, when you have deadlines, I think you have to be motivated. That's another thing I found out about myself too. So, yeah, well, you mentioned a little bit about the writer's blog and the composer's blog and the piece Ursus Martimus is really about that. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit about the composer's blog and how you overcome this with the piece.
Absolutely, yes. So, as I mentioned earlier, as a result of COVID and everything that was happening in my life and just in the world in general, just I was getting in a very bad mental state. It's not good. I felt numb. I did not, as a result, I had no motivation to really do anything. And it was just very hard for me to do any kind of creative outlet. And then Dr. Ko, you wonderfully approached me this summer with this idea for this project. And I remember getting the email, and you were saying, I would like to have you involved in this project. And I was like, oh, great, something to do. Like, because it's like, I was so excited, but at the same time, I was very nervous because I knew that it meant I would have to overcome this writer's block that I was dealing with, and that I would have to, get over it and just deal with it, because ultimately I'm writing this piece for you. And so thankfully, I honestly have to thank you a big part for helping me overcome this writer's block, because my piece Ursus Martimus that I wrote for this project is basically the bridge that I built to get out of writer's blockville and get into composing like crazyville, because I'm composing a lot.
Well, that's great. I mean, I'm very happy to hear that I was little help um, to overcome the your block. Um, so yeah, I mean, it was really fun and interesting process for me as well. So maybe we can also listen to some music that you listen to compose this piece.
Absolutely. So before getting into my piece, I really needed to I needed somewhere to start, and I needed to listen to some music that would help me, you know, get in the mode, like kind of like, okay, I'm writing a solo piano piece. Not like I'm not trying to write the best piece in the world. That was not the goal, but I have to write, a piece. I have to write a piece that is a piece that Dr. Ko would like to play. That was that was what I wanted, and that is what I ended up doing, I think. So let me close Facebook and open up two pieces that I have. Let me see. I'm going to share. It allows me to. So I went back to these two oldies but goldies. This first piece is Thomas Aids, Traced Overhead. And it is a very cool piece for solo piano. It's about 12 minutes long. I think for time's sake, I'm not going to play all of it, but we can probably hear the first few minutes. And a lot of it is what I listen to kind of get into a mode of, what's the word? I kind of wanted I don't know, I just wanted something that was kind of tranquil. And I wanted to listen to something that was tranquil. And this was kind of helpful. This did that for me. That fit that tranquil vibe for me. So I'm going to go ahead and play it so y'all can feel the tranquil vibes. Let me know if you can't hear it, because that would be bad. We can just stop right there, but it goes on, and it's a really great piece. And I drew quite a bit of inspiration from this because I really like this piece, and I just like this piece. And also, I really like Crumb's Macrocosmos. This is very awesome piano piece. If y'all don't know it, please listen to it. It's this recording by Fabio Alvarez. So we'll go ahead and play through the beginning of it. And it's very different. It's not very tranquil at all. But I still love it as much as the 80s. I'm not sure how to say the name, but as much as Traced Overhead. It's a very awesome piece also. I can go on, but that was already half of the first bit. So, but yes, that is the music that I listen to kind of help me, for lack of a better phrase, get into the zone. I was like, okay, I need something to kind of think of, and not, my goal was not to imitate or emulate these pieces, but just was to kind of, you know, just have like enough motivation and inspiration to kind of, you know, keep writing and keep going on. And these pieces, I just enjoy them so much, and they did that for me. I'm gonna stop sharing. But yes.
I mean, it's such an imaginative piece, and I had this ambitious plan of playing both book one and book two, and probably would have happened if it wasn't COVID. Actually, I was
Oh, oh no.
so well, I think it will happen. It will happen someday. It will happen, and but yeah, it's an experience really, and have all this different sounds. Definitely, that's something really inspiring. Yeah, I can see that while you listen to these two pieces. And
Oh
did you
yes.
yeah did you listen to the all the book one, or just particular movements from?
I listened to all the book one at some points, at a few different points, and I remember the first time I listened through it, and my mind was just kind of blown. It was about 1 or 2 years ago, and I was just very happy. I was like, oh my god, this is so good. um, I don't know. I guess the best way I could describe it is like when you go to like a restaurant and you get something from the menu, you're like, okay, yeah, you know, it might be good. And then you have it and you're like, wow, this is suddenly the best cheesecake I've had in my entire life. Like, I don't know. At the time, that's like what that was for me. And I just really, I don't know. I was very happy with it, and I loved it. And I was much more excited about piano music when I heard it.
Well, yeah, I mean, what was like writing piano for solo piano? I mean, I wouldn't say it's strictly solo piano, because there were other options that you actually got. And I remember you asked me different things, if I have like a grain that I can make sound out of all that. So
That's me. Oh yes. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking of a lot of possibilities, because I remember in the email I mentioned earlier, when you asked me to be a part of the project, you were mentioning everything that is in your house. You're like, oh, I have kitchen utensils. I got my Attitune piano. I got this little lime green melodica. I got myself. I got my house. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so many options. And I was a little overwhelmed. So I was asking you just a couple questions to kind of be like, okay, these are some ideas. But ultimately, I ended up not using most of them because in the end, I was like, I had a lesson, a composition lesson with someone who was very wonderful. And this person suggested that when I, you know, write music and I include important things like, you know, if I'm writing a piano piece and I'm going to have the performer, you know, I don't know, have them knock on the side of the piano, or I'm going to have them, you know, pull out like a recorder and start playing the recorder while playing the piano. She basically said to me, you need to, you know, you should have a reason for that, a good reason. And I realized while I was thinking of all the possibilities in your house, I'm like, okay, what do I have a good reason? Like, what, I could do all these things, but what would be the reason? And other than, you know, producing cool sounds, and I could produce cool sounds in other senses. And I decided, you know, to use, for lack of a better phrase, just you as a person and as the performer in addition to the piano, because it very much into, because, you know, you were, for lack of a better word, I'm saying that a lot, you are representing the and portraying this process I'm going through, this writer's block, this artist block process that I'm going through. And I was having you doing a lot of fidgeting, which we can see if we play through the piece, the video, and I have you doing that fidgeting because that's a lot of stuff that I would kind of do. I would get distracted, I would be sitting there trying to compose or do something, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna crack my finger now. Oh, did I just break my finger? Let me go to let me go to the bathroom and check on my finger, make sure it's okay. And then I'm like get distracted. I'm like, okay, now I'm hungry. Okay, now I'm sleepy, so I'm gonna take a nap. Okay, now I'm awake. I want to watch shows. And it's like the composing that I was doing like 3 or 4 hours ago just kind of went out the window. So the fidgeting is kind of supposed to be representative of all the distractions that I had going on in my life at the time, not just the big ones like, losing the job, the dog passing away, COVID, but the smaller things that just were kind of almost like excuses to not do anything and just mentally would pull me away very, very easily.
Right. And it's kind of amazing. I thought that, a few days ago, at the composer's concert, and the vibe that I got from all the composers was really positive, encouraging, and supporting. And we all know all of us are having such difficult times, but it was really inspiring to see that you stay positive, and you still try to be creative, try to be productive. It's really inspiring, and how we can turn negative things to positive, something positive. That all this fidgeting and distraction and all that's originally that's negative, but that turned into some kind of art form, actually became part of piece. And it's a really inspiring transformation.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. But yes, it's definitely the name of the game was turning, especially for this year, was turning negatives into positives. And, it was a lot of seeing people around me turning bad situations into good ones. These festivals that were supposed to happen in person turned into, Zoom conferences that anyone in the world can watch, not just people who would have to travel to one part of the world, pay however much money for admission or registration to see. Now it was more accessible. So it's like you win and you lose. And I feel like that a lot of good things have come about as a result of this situation that we're in. And of course, all the bad things are happening too. But I think what good things we can make are what are keeping us motivated to just, keep going on for a lot of us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we can go through the piece, and we can also, talk more about it. And we have also scores, so we can look at the score afterwards. But let me share. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, okay.
There.
Just 1 second.
You're
Yeah.
all good.
Okay, here you go. Ah. Okay. Yeah. Yay. Cool.
Excellent performance.
Yeah. Um, well, there was some change between I received actually the first draft and the performance was the realization of the final draft. And of course, the biggest change was the title.
Oh, yes. Yes. At first, I didn't know what to put as the title, so appropriately. Well, they'll see when you share it, but they'll see how appropriately titled it was called because I didn't even know what to title it.
That's probably one of the hardest hardest thing. I don't know how people come up with like cool title. Usually, I'm also not very good at that. So yeah, I will share the screen so we can see what the first draft looked like.
It was called Stuck. I don't know why that's so funny to me. It just is.
Yeah, I mean, we were all stuck, so it makes sense, right?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and the piece was shorter too.
Right. The program notes.
Program notes not as wonderfully worded, but
and performance notes that all
were pretty vague. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, to be titled.
To be titled, because I knew I didn't want Stuck as the title, so I'm like, I have to put somewhere in here not Stuck. So that was my reminder. And this is before I put all the fidgeting
Right.
performance notes in there. So at the time, there wasn't really anything except for the heavy breathing, which I just put text. in the description. I put it there instead of in the performance notes page because I didn't know specifically what I wanted yet.
So for example, here that I think that was supposed to be the first actions, acting out, that's missing here.
Yeah. The first one is you stretching. My favorite one is at 27. I love that one. It's just a really short and then you sighing. It's just so perfect. I love it.
Right. And so that was this one, the shifting.
Yes, that was. I decided on that one. So right. Still undecided on many of them. So
I loved this part. It was so beautiful here.
I'm glad you loved it.
Kind of really nice, relaxing middle of the piece, like a nice breather there.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you thought so. Oh, and this section was shorter.
Right. This was
because it just kind of starts at the end.
Yeah, this was that I had to crack knuckles and make noise. And this was shorter. And that was one thing I think we talked about, right?
Yes. Yes, you felt that it would be better if it were longer. And I agreed. I was like, Dr. Ko's right. So I made it twice as long.
Well, thank you for taking the, suggestion. It doesn't always happen. And, it's usually coming from performer's view that how I felt, and especially with the breathing gets heavier, and then the breathing naturally dies down. Obviously I needed a lot more time to do the whole thing. So
yeah, because before I just had it where you just kind of start breathing and I don't really have you do any sort of gradual build up to that. And I remember even once I added that, it was very short. It was only a few measures of build up. And I remember you mentioned to me, maybe you should start earlier. And that's what we ended up doing.
Right. Yeah.
And also starting that one section slower so that it kind of does feel like it's like getting a lot faster and faster, way more dramatically. So the breathing kind of makes more sense.
Right. Yeah. Let's see if I can share the final draft.
I could as well if you would like.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I can take turns and do this.
Right.
Let's see, where's Adobe? There is Adobe Pro. Acrobat Pro, that's what it's called. Share, please. Here it is. For Eunmi Ko, Ursus Martimus, not stuck. Now it's 5 minutes long. And then this is better worded. It says it was premiered in Tampa, and we actually have a little picture for the notes now. And I'm more specific on the actual performance notes that I want.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like, let's see, where's one? Like, adjust your clothes. I say bangly jewelry is encouraged, but not required, because, people don't want to wear bangly jewelry. I'm not going to force them to. I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and here we do have stretch in your seat. So we have that added in. Coughing and clearing the throat is over there. Adjusting the clothing. Sighing with frustration. Then you got this section, shifting your weight. And yeah, so originally, oh no, we're not there yet. This is cracking your knuckles. Yes, so this end section starting at 45 originally started over here in measure 51. And then I added all of this and made it slower. And then the start breathing heavily even starts before that. So yes, that was kind of the biggest change going there.
Yeah. And there around probably measure 45, was it measure 45? Yes. And I also enjoyed its accents, and they seem to be kind of misplaced in a way that they're not regular. And I thought it was really cool to have that irregular accents there. And there's something about it. I don't know. When I played it, there's certain feeling about these accents. I didn't ask you actually about if you meant something, but I thought, well, I'm really enjoying it. I'm not gonna her actually.
You know, I love misplaced accents. They're my favorite thing. Earlier last spring, I wrote a sax quartet, and it has a lot of misplaced accents, and a lot of my peers really liked that aspect of it. So I was like, okay, let me go with that. I like the misplaced accents, so that's what I got going on. Like, especially 46, I like how it's like, okay, got one there. We have one in the left hand, we have it on the and a one, and then on downbeat of two, and then over here it's like, okay, it's the right hand's on the and of two, and then here we have it on this end of the sextuplet on the left hand. So it's definitely all over the place, but yeah, I like it. I'm
Yeah,
glad you like it too.
yeah, no, I really liked it, and it's, it feels uncomfortable, but in a very very nice way uncomfortable, like that you're making this um slightly distorted,
Mm-hmm.
which always is, for me, it's a nice feeling that I can have this distorted feeling that it's not just ordinary nice music. So
Oh, I'm glad you think so.
I really enjoyed that part as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there anything else we should note before I stop screen sharing?
I don't know. Is there any questions about all this from the chat?
Ooh, let's take a look. That's great. They are a few seconds delayed, so
Right.
hopefully they can still see things.
You have any questions for us?
Dr. Whiting says he likes stuck. I'm glad.
I just read that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, one thing about, this kind of acting, although it's a minor part of my job, I think, here, or I mean, it could be major part of my job, right, for this piece, and especially for this concert and project, that I can make confession now, but I tried to exaggerate everything in the beginning. That was what I was doing, and then I had rehearsal with you, and there was Dr. Whiting present also, and then I think I had this comment about, that it seems a little bit artificial what you were doing. It was this coughing part, and I went back and actually record myself, video recording, and I realized it just doesn't. What I was doing doesn't really fit to the piece. It doesn't sound like it's part of the piece. Like I'm just kind of separating all this, each action from the piece, and try to kind of make it loud. And I thought, oh, I really don't like how the whole things look or sounds that way. So it really kind of also changed my approach completely. After then, I thought, okay, I should do something better than this. And then I think now it looks more natural than it's, here I am, I'm acting out all that.
So, I'm glad. I'm glad you felt so, because yeah, definitely when it comes to like acting or speaking, like I remember back when in high school, like when they would have us like memorize parts of whatever we were reading in class and recite it to the teacher, to the class or whatever, or in Spanish class, especially when we had to do that, we had to learn how to say certain sentences and such. I remember the most helpful thing for me was recording myself and listening to myself And I'm like, okay, can I understand what I'm saying? Am I making sense? Does anything in here sound unnatural? And I want it to sound good when I spoke. And I don't sound great when I speak all the time, but recording definitely does help and has helped me made some improvements. And yeah, recording yourself doing things and listening back, definitely it sounds a lot different than how you think it is. I mean, every time I hear my voice when I go back to a recording, I cringe a little bit because I don't like my voice, I'll be honest. But it definitely does just show like how different things look and sound than they are in your head.
Yeah, the whole perspective, it's just, you know, what you think of yourself and actually trying to look at yourself from outside. So completely different experience. But yeah, so it gave me some acting lesson that way. But yeah, I mean, most of all, it was just really fun experience. So
Glad you thought so, and I'm glad I could help with your acting career.
right. Well, yeah, I don't see any question.
See, an Oscar-worthy performance. I completely agree.
There are comments, but I don't see any questions.
Yes, no questions, but we are both awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Such wonderful people here.
Yeah.
We're talking about cheesecake. We were talking about cheesecake, Tucker.
Yeah, maybe you have to change the title back to Stuck.
Yes.
Very popular here. And you can use the Ursus Martimus for something else, maybe.
Maybe I'll just make it both. I'll just do one of those things where it's like Ursus Martimus : Stuck.
Maybe. Yeah.
Cool. Or maybe I'll write like a series of pieces and I'll just call the big project Stuck, and this part will be called Ursus Martimus.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's possible. Cool.
Oh, yes.
Well, do you have any comments or anything you want to add before we close this talk?
Let me see if I can think of anything. Maybe just briefly, something that definitely went through my head as I was composing this piece was future performability of the piece. By the way, sorry if you can hear any background noise. I think my brother is dealing with something. But definitely future performance and future accessibility. You know, if you were to perform it back when venues open again, or if another performer wanted to perform it and things like that. And I was definitely trying to keep those things in mind when composing this piece. So part of me kind of set these limitations for myself, like, okay, what are things that are available in Dr. Ko's house, but not available in a concert hall? And I realized, you know, a kitchen is one. I mean, we can have like those little electric stove tops, which I think would actually work very good for Dr. Benjamin Whiting's piece. That would be really great, I think, because then you could have the kettle going, you could have the span, just get a bunch of those and plug those in, and that would work. What else or an electric kettle, that would work. You could plug that in. But yeah, so things like that, I was thinking a lot about it. I was like, okay, what would be the most accessible? And I just figured, okay, you're going to have a piano. There's going to be a piano there if it's a piece for piano, and there's going to be a performer there. So let me try and work with that. And I knew that I was limited because it was an out-of-tune upright piano. And I was like, okay, in terms of inside the piano stuff, I mean, my mom has an upright piano that's also very out of tune, quite worse than yours, actually, in terms of out of tuneness. But, you know, it's like it's not super accessible in terms of going in there, to my knowledge. So I was like, okay, let me try and make a piece that is as much piano performer, you know, for lack of a better word, traditional relationship, but make it not super traditional and have you do these actions, have you do these fidgetings. In terms of accessibility, I felt that for future performances, whether you were to take this to another hall or another performer is like, hey, I want to perform this in my house. Can I do it? You know, I would want as many people to access it as they can. So that was a big thing as well to consider.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, after this COVID, yeah, anything is possible, I think. We will make anything possible, I think. But definitely, what you were thinking will help to bring this piece to other places. And I will just ask them, just don't tune the piano for me.
Oh, yes. And I know it would sound, I actually got a question about this because I presented about this about this process for writing this piece in the Hypercube Composition Lab. They had a day for some composers to present, and I got to present. And I presented a bit about Ursus Martimus, and someone asked me, how different do you think it would be on a tuned grand or baby grand piano in a concert hall as opposed to an upright, out of tune piano in someone's house? And I said, I think it would be very starkly different, but I think it would still, I feel like it would still have a similar character to the piece, to the point where it would still be recognizably the same piece. So yeah, but I was wondering what your thoughts would be, how different you think that it would be if it were played on a tuned grand or baby grand in a concert hall as opposed to your house.
I mean, I think it will still, as you said, it will still be recognizable. It won't be completely different. But still, I think it will be effective with all the acting part and the interruption, because that was another great element of the piece, that you have this nice interruption, you have this continuity. I think that's something really cool and interesting. So I think that would still be carried out. Probably I would feel a little bit different, probably. And
sure.
if it's a bigger venue and bigger concert hall, probably there would be some adjustment to the gesture, because it's a big hall. So it may be, I may have to exaggerate for those venues, other than smaller space. So we'll see how this is gonna sound in a bigger place and different places. It's interesting because in the history, all these pieces, even by Chopin and Schubert, they're really not meant to perform in a huge concert hall, and it was composed for a very small setting and very intimate. I felt like we kind of lost that, that we live in such perfect world. I mean, we were, that you have this huge Steinway D, concert size D, that's perfectly tuned in this, again, huge concert hall, that you're so far away from the performer. And I mean, that's nice too, but I often think it's quite different from how it was performed, probably, or how it was premiered at that time. So it's interesting. It's an interesting question, and I'm also excited to see how it will turn out. So.
Oh, likewise. I think either way, I think it would be awesome, like performance-wise, for you to play it.
Thank you.
And I was thinking, like, as a joke, like maybe have like mic use, so when you're cracking your knuckles, so it's loud enough so everyone can hear it. Or when you play with the necklace, or you stretch.
I should wear a mic, or
yeah, have like a little mic and just take the necklace or bracelet or whatever and just be like,
yeah. That would be cool. Yeah, but well, yeah, I don't think there's any questions, so we can say proper goodbye to these people, and thank you again for talking to us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me this virtual space to speak with you and with those who decided to watch now and whoever is going to watch after this is uploaded and not live streamed.
Right. Okay. Well, good